My name's Rob Gardner. I'm a 42-year-old professional poker player from Champaign, Illinois. So today's the start of a really important trip. I am leaving for San Antonio, Texas. Gonna go down there for 3 to 4 weeks and hit the live poker scene really hard. I really need to build that bankroll up if I'm going to be in Vegas for the entire summer, cover all my expenses, and actually get to own a big enough percentage of myself to make being out there worthwhile. For the better part of the last 2 years, I've been spending about 40 to 45% of my time on the road and the rest of my time at home. I am very fortunate that I have a wife who is blindly supportive of me and doesn't just tolerate or accept my career. She really pushes me to go after my goals and go after my dreams. My kids are also older. I have 24, 22, 18, and 16 now. And so they're all kind of at the age where they're doing their own things. They're really independent, and parents are kind of not the coolest thing in the world. So it does give me the flexibility to be as gone as I am. Last year, I had the most successful year of poker in my career. I had my biggest live score, hitting for $27,000, finishing second in a Venetian 100K. I had my biggest online score, taking fourth in the Ignition Mad Monday main event for over $10,000. But after the expenses of traveling back and forth from Vegas 3 or 4 times, and lodging and food and everything else, I really didn't grow my bankroll at all last year. And so I committed to this idea of I've just got to learn cash games. I've been playing this game for so long. There's no reason I shouldn't be able to excel at both formats. But it definitely creates some anxiety because here I am with very limited cash game experience, just having worked really hard over the last month on studying. And now I'm heading to the wild, wild west, which is Texas poker, where there is insane action and big pots and uncapped tables to see if I can spin this $5,000 up into 10, 15, 20K before I get out to the summer, so that I can have the flexibility to really pursue the games I want to play and own a big enough chunk of myself that if I do get a big score or a career-defining score, it actually matters. And with all my bags packed, we are officially off for San Antonio, Texas. We've got a 2-day drive, 1,100 miles to get there. But before we get there, we're gonna make a pit stop just an hour down the road in Effingham, Illinois. That's where I'm gonna meet up with my good buddy who's partnering in this project, KL Cleeton. I'm really excited to come down and interview him and talk with him about his journey to the World Series of Poker and some of the things he's trying to overcome. You guys are gonna love him, and it's gonna get me all kinds of hyped for this trip.
I'm KL Cleeton. I'm 32 years old, and I'm a poker tech entrepreneur. When I was 6 months old, I was diagnosed with what is called spinal muscular atrophy. It's a neurological disorder, so it's something that you're born with. And there are different types of SMA. It's called SMA for short. I have what is widely considered to be the most severe type of SMA, because the type that you have is measured by how severe your symptoms are. And the best way to understand my symptoms is that I can feel everything, but I can't move anything from the neck down. So I'm not able to move my arms, for example, to scratch my nose or give myself a drink. I have a tiny bit of movement in my right thumb, and that is what I use to drive my wheelchair. It's a micro joystick, is what they call it, and that means that it requires a very tiny amount of force to move it, but that's how you get around, because that's what the only little bit of movement that I do have. That means that I need 24-hour assistance. I'm really fortunate, though. My parents are my primary caregivers, but more than that, my family and I are really very close. my parents are two of my best friends, not just my parents.
I enjoy KL and his whole family. What KL's parents do and how they go about it always just sets such a high example for me. I always feel challenged and motivated to be a better dad and a better parent when I'm around them.
They support me in this crazy dream and goal that I have of being a poker. I don't know many parents that would be like, yeah, let's do this. That sounds like fun. I can't tell you how many times my parents are literally the reason that I have survived an illness. I had an allergic reaction one time to a pain medication, and I went into anaphylaxis, and nobody knew what to do but my parents, who were always with me, even in the hospital. They were the ones that, literally kept air moving into my chest just enough to where they were able, doctors were able to, do some medical intervention with intubation and whatnot. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be following these dreams. I wouldn't be, able to pursue my goals, and I wouldn't even be here.
I have never seen Kale in a bad mood, ever. It doesn't matter what he's going through, what situation he's in. Anytime I've had a conversation with him, he's always bright, cheerful, spirited, positive, and willing to listen to what you have to say and focused on what you're talking about. And that is such a rare quality in people today.
Rob and I are fortunate that we actually are geographically pretty close. And so when I found that out, I was like, oh, shit, I went to school there. Like, I mean, we probably actually saw each other and just didn't realize it. But, more than that, we both care deeply about the game. We both, want to make the game better. We want to leave the game better than we found it. We have to do a lot to be able to travel, especially traveling such a large distance. Obviously, there's a lot of gear that I take with me. I have a lot of stuff from not only my daily needs, but also, because we're away from home, we need to have all the things that we have here at home with us in case something happens. And because of that, that's a lot of stuff. So we travel with a trailer. Because I need to have a hospital bed in order to be able to sleep, we're actually going to be using a hospital bed, which is great because we will have that when we get there. But that also means it's really hard to stop along the way. So we're actually going to be driving straight through just so we don't have to worry about finding a place for me to be able to sleep in a regular hotel room on top of, unpacking and packing. It really is a big undertaking, and there's a lot that's involved. It's not just, unfortunately, it's not just as simple as hopping on a plane or jumping in a car and taking a leisurely drive 1,800 miles. It's a long way, but it's also worth it because at the end of the day, getting there is a big hurdle and a big challenge. But once we're there, we get to experience, we get to live the dream, we get to live the goals that we're setting and experience this amazing game that we love in a way that really only comes around once a year.
Day 2 on the road to San Antonio, Texas, to see Paul, his wife Misty, and really dig in on things. We've got about a 9-hour drive today, and I'm just so ready to be there. I actually just got off the phone with Paul. We had a nice little talk and brainstorming session about this project and poker and how we're going to study and hit the cash games. And I'm getting in about 10 o'clock tonight, and I think we're going to dig in right when I get there. I don't even think we're going to wait until tomorrow, because there's a lot to do, and I think we're both hungry and both in a good place mentally and emotionally to take all this on. And you know, every long journey starts with the first step, and I think we're ready to take some steps. So we're gonna keep trekking along here and see what happens. It's gonna be a special month here.
I am a product of change. I brought the product in days, turning my L's into gains, channel the pain, looking to better the days. Yeah, you are a product of fear and the man in the mirror. You can't get away from them things, and I am aware, fully prepared. The devil he speaks. Yeah, and this what he said. You gotta get paid. Do what you gotta do. Get to the bag. Stay at your 9 to 5. Get on the avenue. You ain't cut out for them things. Yeah, you are not good enough. You are the type of got people that shouldn't love anyone knowing you know that you phony. You never cut out for this. You should just give it up. Yeah, but that's how they want me to feel. I am the man of the steel, king of the hill, man of the year. Finally feel like I got it for real. Yeah, but all of them voices we got them. Lie to me, Hillary Rodham. I just came back from my kid in the bottom, and now I'm gonna bring it back all the way on them. Yeah, one time I'm going for mine. You put it on mine. You better believe they're looking for me. One time I'm going for mine. You put it on mine.
After a 9-hour drive turned into a 12-hour drive thanks to some extra traffic in Dallas, we are finally in San Antonio, Texas, and I am here with Paul, and we are working feverishly to get our poker studio set up. Before we take you in there, I sit down with Paul to talk to him about what it's like to be a recreational player and come up in the poker industry.
Hi, my name is Paul Figliomeni, and I'm 55 years old, and I'm living the dream as a amateur poker player. Really what made me get into poker is two friends of mine. A long time ago, we worked together, and we traveled the road a lot. And being on the road, we'd be in a lot of casinos because that's where our bowling ventures took us, into bowling centers that were based in casinos. And we just ended up starting to learn how to play poker. Poker's hard. To be great at poker, if you look at the top players, they put a lot of time off of the felt into this game. This is not a game that you're just going to sit down and casually play and be great at. So hopefully through this process, you'll see us get better at our study, because that is a weakness of mine. I'm just learning the game. And through study, hopefully I'll be much better at the end of this 12-week journey that we're on. So how far would I go for this journey? Well, believe it or not, I'm going to go all the way. I'm all in. I'm literally going to change my $70,000 Tesla into a hotel room, a campsite, and I'm going to live out of it for 60 days. I'm dedicated to this project. I'm dedicated to building a bankroll from the beginning. I have the means to be able to certainly buy my own buy-ins, certainly live in a swank hotel, things like that. But that's not how up-and-coming players live. So me as an up-and-coming newbie, I call it a newbie to poker. I've only been to the World Series one time in my life. I really want to grind and get that experience of not being fixated on always having a lot of money. Just being able to grind a bankroll, play within my bankroll, never use house money, just always use poker money. And it'll be an interesting journey, and I hope you guys will come along with us. I'm not a professional poker player. So there's ebbs and flows of the game, and there's things that I don't understand still to this point. I'm learning of the game, and studying is a full-time job. Balance is so hard in poker. Having to balance the poker life compared to the home life, compared to your business life, compared to your spiritual life is very difficult. I have 5 children. They all want a piece of my time at inconvenient times, as most of you probably know. My business, my wife owns a real estate company here in San Antonio. It's very successful. So I have to balance her with helping her through that process. And then, just making time for poker is very difficult. If you want to be great at the game, it takes time. If you think you're just going to go to a poker room, sit down and be profitable, that's unfortunately not how it works. And I've come to learn that in the last couple of years, that balance is a key integral part of life and of poker. So really for me, at the end of my poker career, success looks like I did everything I possibly could. I jumped through every hoop. I did all the possibilities to make me the best poker player I could be. And I want to be able to be proud of it. And I want my family to be proud that I did the best I could. And at the end of the day, I think that's all you could ask for.
What's it like to be in Texas? Well, you wake up and take a shower, and you find one of these.
So Monday morning, I wake up, I take a shower like I do every morning, and I look up on the ceiling and see this nice big spider.
I'm gonna turn the camera off now, just in case we need to have one of those end scene credits that says nothing was harmed in the making of this film. Yeah, that's not gonna be the case.
I'm not the biggest fan of spiders and snakes and scorpions and all those things that are bigger down here in Texas. I'm certainly not one to get afraid of, a little tiny spider or something really small, but this wasn't a small spider, and I wasn't a fan of having to try and deal with him.
Okay, I lied. I caught his butt, and he's going out in the yard, but don't tell Paul. He'll be mad. Texas. I'm not sure I'm a fan. Okay, go away. Go far, far away. Don't ever come back. God, there's another one.
I'm pretty sure the only reason that Paul wants to sleep in his Tesla for the summer was that spider. But before we got too far into the study grind, I asked Paul to give us a tour of his Tesla and his plans for how he's going to make this camping trip work.
This was my home last year in the World Series. Come on in for a minute. So, as you can tell, this is what I'm used to living in. Okay? So, we're going from this year, okay, which is the lap of luxury. Come follow me. And we're going to go around here, and we are going to live in this. So for 60 days, I am going to be held up in this vehicle, okay? I'm going to have a set bankroll. I'm not going to the bank. We're not selling the car, okay? And we're gonna have fun. That's the whole goal. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna see if we can do it. I'm hopefully some of my Tesla buddies and fans will spread the word that I'm gonna be living out of my Model 3 Tesla for 2 months, 60 days. So I bought a tremendous amount of things, and I'm gonna go through that further in the videos as we go on of how to camp in your Model 3 while living the dream. All right, so this is a Model 3 Tesla, and we're going to be living out of this for 60 days. So basically back here in the trunk area is very spacious. So basically under here will be a refrigerator. Okay, so we'll have a full refrigerator in here, plugged in. It'll be on all the time. These two seats will fold down. And what I purchased is called a test mat. And this literally becomes just about bigger than a twin size bed. So I have drapes that will cover privacy curtains that will cover all the privacy for the car. So when I'm sleeping, and again, I don't plan on spending a lot of time in the car.
I'm going to be doing a lot of work at the gym, staying healthy. I'm a big Starbucks fan, so I'll probably be doing a lot of hanging out at Starbucks, studying, things like that. The car can supercharge. Car drives itself, so the drive out to Vegas, I've done it before. Basically, you just sit there and let the car drive you, which is fantastic. Up here in the front area, since there is no engine in the car, this is an extra area for space and storage. So what I bought is luggage that goes here. So all my clothes and everything will be up in the front here in the trunk, in the frunk they call it. And we get about 300 miles of range before we have to stop at a supercharger. So we'll probably make about 9 stops along the way. Supercharging takes pretty much the same amount as a gas car, probably 15 to 20 minutes. So if you got at a rest stop, you went out, got a bite to eat, used the facilities, by the time you come back to your car, you're pretty much full to the next charging station. There's 9 or 10 charging locations in Vegas, so we'll be utilizing those to keep the car full. And then, you know, the car has an information center. We can watch movies on the front screen. It has a camp mode, so it keeps all the air conditioning running, all the systems running. So really, it's kind of a home away from home. So it's going to be interesting going from a 45-foot motorhome to a 18-foot car.
After a vigorous weekend of studying with Paul, it's time for us to finally take our talents to Roundish Poker Room in San Antonio. If you haven't been here, you need to come check it out. The staff is amazing, the room is gorgeous, there are TVs everywhere, the food is top-notch, and of course, the poker is fantastic. Now, I would be lying if I said I didn't have some anxiety coming into this session, but it quickly disappeared when I flopped a nut flush on the first hand of my session and got paid off by a straight draw that called down to the river and got there. Paul also got into the action and quickly started stacking chips, and within a couple hours, we both accumulated some nice profit and went back home to evaluate our night. So, first night in the books.
Not bad.
Playing a little bit of a different style tonight, right?
Yeah, for me, that was a little different. Like I said, this is the first night of ever trying to actually build a bankroll. So I played much tighter than I probably normally would have. Our table was super soft. You don't really get at Rounders that soft of a table often. But pretty much I controlled the table the whole night. I think the best hand I had was Ace-Jack all night. But still just taking down small pots and good spots. It's just amazing me of, you know, now that really trying to concentrate on not taking so many chances. But I think all in all, I think I made $382 in 4 hours.
Yeah, I think it was a good night. I ran pretty good. I didn't have a lot of good hands like you did. I did get kings, so I had a little bit of a better hand. I think I played maybe 11 hands all night. But the hands I did play, I hit flops pretty well. I had 10-8 suited twice, ironically. I won good pots with both of those. One time I flopped open-ended. The other time I flopped gutter ball and flush draw and then turned open-ended and got folds. And then I butchered the king's hand. I saw I had kings. I didn't see the guy on the button put the $10 straddle out, so my juicy $15 raise ended up being a undersized, inappropriate illegal
Actually,
raise.
it might have worked out well because you flopped the world.
Yeah, I flopped a full house and I'd got 2 callers. I probably, like, in that spot, let's see, I'm going 30, 40, 50, probably 53. I'm betting 53 if I notice the straddle. And at that point, I'm not even sure if I get a caller. So I ended up getting 2 callers. Flush draw came in on the turn, and I felt like there was a decent chance that at least one of those guys had a flush draw. And so when we went heads up to the flop, I did go, or heads up to the turn, and put the small bet in. I did go ahead and elect to check out of turn there, and it was an interesting spot. We were kind of debating because the river bricked out, and I checked because I wanted, you know, the busted flush and straight draws to take a rip, and this guy looked like the kind of guy that would try to buy a pot, and he did, you know, rip four green chips in for 100. And I just called. It was like an ace, king, king, 8-3 run, or ace, ace, king, 8-3 run out.
Because you're such a nit.
Well, the problem is like he checked the button on the flop. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't have an ace at that point, right?
You think? Or was he trying to slow play his ace?
Well, maybe. But he didn't raise turn. So then the problem is, it's just like, what are you what's calling you if you raise? Like if you raise that river, like what are you getting called by? Ace 8, ace 3.
But he's not having an 8 and he's not having a 3. He might just think that you're trying to buy it with an ace and he's got an ace and it's going to be a split. And
yeah, I mean, if he's ever got an ace there that's not a full house, I guess you're going to make more money flicking it in.
yeah, because you didn't even give him an opportunity to.
Like, I just don't know if he's calling with an ace if he doesn't have a full house on the river.
I mean, he's the one who put the 100 in.
Right, but when I come over the top for like 340,
It's either got to be you polarize now. I mean, either you got it or you don't.
Yeah.
But he seemed like pretty splashy.
Yeah.
Because that was the one guy at the table that I would have made the attempt to see if I can get him to, because you couldn't lose the hand. I mean, there's no way to lose the hand. He didn't have aces.
Well, he could have had aces full of 8s or aces full of 3s. I mean, that's the only way to lose a hand. Or like maybe like pocket 3s. Like maybe he, called me on turn. Yeah, probably.
But safe is always better. We're building bankrolls. Why take a chance? Made an easy 100.
Well, that's the thing is like it was really, I don't want to say it was important because I didn't have any control over it, but like was really hoping to just get out to a good start,
Booking a win is nice.
Yeah.
First night out is nice.
Yeah, get a buy-in and a little bit extra in, and now like when I go to my next session, like I've got that buy-in in hand. So if I take a bad beat early and lose a buy-in, I'm just back to where I started. With time running out for episode 1, we head back to Rounders for one last session, hoping to end the week on a high note, and we did not disappoint. Paul racked up over $1,200 in profit in just 3 hours, crushing the 1-2 table, while I had the biggest cash session of my career.
Let's go! Yes! Oh my goodness! God bless Texas! What an amazing night. I've been wondering what it would be like to have a really big run up here in Texas. And I didn't even have like a really big run up, but it was a big run up for me. We were literally there less than 3 hours. I bought in for $300. The 5th hand there, I open ace-5 suited from early position, get like 3 or 4 callers, flop the nut flush. That was a king 10-8 board, all spades. One of my opponents ends up having queen jack, calls a check raise on the flop, calls a $100 bet on the turn, and then he gets there on the river, not knowing he's drawing dead, but he was basically all in on the turn anyway. So we doubled right out of the gate. Up and down a little bit after that, we picked up aces and won a decent pot, and then came a bomb pot. And I always play the bomb pots because I think people play them really, really bad. Similar to like a high-low game, they always play for half the pot. And the board runs out 10, 5 deuce, all clubs on one board, and 9, 6 deuce on the other board. And I look down of ace of clubs, 9 of clubs. So I again flop the nut flush on one board, top pair, top kicker on the other board. I put out a small-ish bet. I wanted to try and keep some people in and build a pot so I could go big on turn. Got a couple of callers. The turn put a 2 on the 9-6 deuce board and a brick on the flush board, and I just bombed. And the biggest stack at the table snap calls me. I'm a little nervous because the 6 came on the other card, so like a set of 6s kind of gives me a spot to get busted for a huge pot. But the guy just had a naked flush draw, open-ended flush draw and straight draw on one board and like third pair on the other board. And the river was a 9 for a full house on the other board, so I had a full house and a flush. I raked an $1,100 pot, and we said, hey, 3 hours, $800 profit. let's go home and work on some content and do some studying. So just felt great to get in, experience the thrill of these guys playing crazy in Texas, run up a nice, quick, hot score without breaking a sweat, and now we get to go home and get some study work done, get episode 1 wrapped. I'm really excited for you guys to see that. And then we got some tournaments to play this week. It is going to be a lot of fun. I am so ready to take this thing to the next level.
What he said, you gotta get paid, do what you gotta do, get to the bag, stay at your 9 to 5, get on the avenue, you ain't cut out for them tags, yeah, you are not good enough, you are the type of got people that shouldn't love anyone knowing you know that you phony, you never cut out for this, you should just give it up, yeah, but that's how they want me to feel, I am the man of the steel, king of the hill, man of the year, finally feel like I got it for real, yeah, but all of them voices we got them, lie to me, Hillary Rodham, I just came back from my kid in the bottom, and now I'm gonna bring it back all the way on them, yeah.